Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Inside Lowell. I am Teddy Panos, coming to you from the WellPoint Studios here in beautiful, historic downtown Lowell. WellPoint is the only health plan offering benefits, exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. And we thank our friends at WellPoint for helping to make this special podcast possible. I want to thank all of our podcast sponsors here at Inside Lowell as well. Of course, our friends at the Washington Savings Bank. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, quality and value at every price point. Find your perfect space at TMI. Boston North Company, business solutions for restaurant and retail. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to Greater Lowell since 1925. Francis E. Preventure Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell has counted on for more than 4 decades. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, who brought us quite an inaugural season of indoor football here to the Mill City, and we thank them. And I also want to thank my guests who are joining me here for this special podcast. It is actually a debate featuring the 3 candidates seeking the Democratic Party nomination for the Middlesex North Register of Deeds. We can talk a little bit about the office and their vision for the office here and over the next half hour, 45 minutes or so. I'm going to introduce them to you here quickly on the left of your screen. TV, iPad, computer, cell phone, however you're choosing to watch that. Karen Cassella is joining us. Thank you, Karen, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Sokhary Chau is here with us. He is in the middle of the group here. Welcome, Sokhary.
Hi, Teddy. Hello, everyone.
And off on the right here of your monitors, Joe Reddy is joining us. Welcome, Joe. Glad to have you here as well.
Thank you, Teddy. Thank you, everyone watching.
All right. I thank you again for agreeing to do this. We're actually recording this on Wednesday, August 28th, for those who are watching it, just a couple of days away from the September 3rd primary. Of course, early voting is going on in all the communities that this district encompasses, as well as mail-in voting has been going on, for a couple of weeks now at a minimum. Tonight, we're going to give you each an opportunity to make a 1-minute opening statement. We'll then ask you a series of questions that you will all have the same opportunity to respond to. Not going to keep a clock on you as we discussed beforehand, but I will ask you to keep your question to answers to about a minute, maybe 2 minutes or so max, so we can try to get in as many questions as we can. You will all answer the same questions, and there will be an opportunity for a brief rebuttal if one of you is mentioned specifically in somebody else's answer. I will give you an opportunity to rebut or kind of explain something away. Then you will all get a 1-minute closing statement as well, and I'm going to guess there's still enough time for you to go out and knock some doors and shake some hands and get some babies, so I'll try to get you out of here as early as possible. So with that all said, we will begin alphabetically. The opening statement first, you, Ms. Cassella.
All right. Hi, I'm Karen Cassella, running for Register of Deeds. I have been in the office for 32 years. I started my journey back in 1992 with Ed Early, and I continued on with Richard Howe. I know the inner workings of the office. I am the person that approves documents for attorneys that are recording real estate documents. I am looking to be the next Register of Deeds. As far as working in the office, we always talk about Richard Howe, what a great job he did. Well, he did. He did a great job in that office. But don't forget about the employees that were in that office helping out and treating the people the way that they do. I want to, if I do get elected, I have a lot of good things. I want to be able to help the people, make sure that they are recording their property and recording it properly. And who do you trust to answer questions? Do you trust someone with no experience, or do you trust someone with 32 years to protect your property? I respectfully ask you to vote for me, Karen Cassella, September 3rd. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Cassella. Mr. Chau, your opening statement.
Thank you, Teddy. My name is Sokhary Chau. I am running for the Register of Deeds. I am a husband, a father of 2 young adults, a city councilor, and a former mayor of the city of Lowell. I came to the United States in the early 1980s after my father, a captain in the Cameroon Army, was executed in the 1975s. by the Khmer Rouge, leaving my mom with 7 children to survive the killing fields. When we escaped the killing fields, we came to Lowell. I was very fortunate to have gone to Lowell public schools, have great teachers that helped me learn the English, learn the language, and I was able to apply and got accepted to Phillips Academy, then to Macalester College. My wife and I opened a mortgage company in the late 1990s and early 2000. I also have worked for 2 law offices and in real estate. The past few years, I've been fortunate enough to serve the communities in the capacity of the first Cambodian American mayor in the country and a city councilor. I am uniquely qualified, having private sector experience and public sector experience, to lead the registry with management and leadership. I have been endorsed by Governor Maura Healey, Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll, the Attorney General Andrew Campbell, and the State Auditor Diana Dzoglu, among dozens of other local elected officials. If I'm fortunately enough to be elected, I want to revolutionize the registry for the next generation, as Mr. Howe did modernize the registry ever since he's been serving. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chau. And Mr. Reddy, you get a chance for your opening statement.
Thank you. I'm Joe Reddy. I'm running for Register of Deeds. For those that don't know, the Registry of Deeds is responsible for recording, maintaining, and providing public access of all land records and real estate related documents. It's important to know that the Register is also responsible for collecting state transfer taxes, CPA funds, technology fees, and also is the assistant recorder to the land court. My experience having recorded documents at registries all throughout the state when I was younger, having worked at Suffolk Law School in their registrar's office, having administered technology in the admissions office at Suffolk Law School, and having managed union staff at Harvard Law School, as well as leading and founding my own real estate brokerage, gives me an unbelievable background to be able to bring management, leadership, and operations to the Registry of Deeds to help bring it to the next level as Richard Howe is now retiring. I do want people to know that this is a very complex position. I do have a great understanding of all of the documents that exist within the Registry of Deeds, but the role of the Register of Deeds extends far beyond just actually recording documents at the actual registry. So I hope people take the time to go to my website, votejoereddy.com, where they can see testimonials from people that I've worked for, people I've worked with, and people that have worked for me. I come with no strings attached, and I come here to serve the people of Northern Middlesex, specifically here in Lowell and the surrounding towns. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. First question will go to you, Mr. Chau. The current Register of Deeds, widely credited for modernizing the office since taking over in 1995. Of course, that was actually decades ago, 3 decades ago, and the world has changed. Technology has changed. What is the next frontier, the next area where the registry needs to go to continue staying in the modern world?
That's a great question. Mr. Howe, he absolutely modernized the registry ever since he took office in 1998. After a couple of years in office, the legislature at that time passed a Y2K Preparedness Act. He used that money to modernize the registry ever since, and the registry's been modernized as one of the top one in the country. This year, the legislature just passed the Future Tech Act in the amount of $1.2 billion for technology information delivery service. If I'm lucky enough to be elected, I will focus on getting the registry shovel ready to be eligible for that funding and to modernize and to revolutionize the registry for the next generation. As you mentioned, technology has expanded rapidly, has changed rapidly. If you don't stay ahead of technology, the property records, home ownership rights are at risk of frauds. In the past couple of years, I've noticed the cyber event attacks all over the 350 plus communities in the Commonwealth as well as across the country. We have to stay ahead of technology, and I think with the Future Tech Act bill, $1.268 billion, I'm the only candidate that can leverage my experience, my background, to bring in and qualify for that type of funding.
Thank you. Mr. Reddy.
Thank you. Yes, Richard Howe did a phenomenal job, did bring us into the electronics record age. But now it is time for us to focus on the things that are going to be coming up on the frontier. So protection against fraud, cybersecurity, these are going to be huge pieces that need to be implemented. Improving our websites and making them more searchable and accessible, and also bringing in language accessibility as part of that technology platform. So I'm excited to use my experience as a super user, somebody that uses the registry on a daily basis, to help craft new ways in which we can improve registry services for the public moving forward. And as my colleague had stated, there is funding that may be available. We will try to take advantage of that. I do want to say that I do not believe he's the only candidate that's capable of bringing additional funding to the registry should it be needed. But I would be looking to use creative ways where we can partner with the other 21 registries across the state to try to save money and use those services in a way that is impactful for the residents. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Cassella.
All right. So as far as upgrading as the technology in the office, the first thing I would probably do was talk to the Secretary of State about getting us the ability to use debit cards and credit cards for recordings. That's an issue for us. It's always been. I think that's something we should be doing. As far as generating money to create the technology upgrades, so our budget comes from Secretary of State, and pretty much all the registries work together. They all have their equal budgets. And I think that if there is money there, which Sokhary did say that they gave us a grant, we should definitely use it to upgrade. And it would be more or less to try to figure out how we can protect people's property, how we can make sure that if these documents, fraud documents, do get on record, how we can, prevent them from losing their property. So I think that's where I would be looking to use any technology money or upgrading. It's really going to be for the computer system. But I mean, we're the ones making the judgment on documents. So we can protect, but it really comes down to the person looking at that document, making those decisions. So once that decision's made, we're accepting it. How is a computer going to stop anything from? We're typing it in. We should be the ones preventing it. So as far as that, I'm going to meet with all the registers, and we have to decide how we can protect people's property before it gets on record.
Okay, thank you. Next question, we're going to start with you,
Sure.
Mr. Reddy. The first question I asked the three of you when you came in here for your kind of introductory podcast was, what exactly does the Registry of Deeds do? What does the register do? What does the office itself do? And I'm going to guess you heard that a lot as you were out there meeting people. So what are your plans regarding public outreach and education so that people can become aware of the ways that they can use the registry and how they can benefit from it?
Thank you. That's an excellent question, Teddy. So we talked a little bit, I already explained what the Registry of Deeds does, but more importantly, the general public sometimes doesn't understand that we actually work under two title systems. Okay, we have recorded land, probably about 90% of the documents that are recorded. You also have registered land, which is where a lot of land records are if they are contested for some sort of property boundaries or something that may happen, right? And that goes through the land court. And that's when you become, as the register, the assistant recorder to the land court. What's important is to explain to people that those two systems exist. But from my aspect, when I want to implement new technology, the general public, when they're searching, really shouldn't have to know whether they have registered land or recorded land in order to look up titles of properties. The other thing that the registry should be educating people on is how they can use it to best serve different segments of the population. So if that's renters, they could be looking up who owns title to the property so they know who they should be using and handing deposits to, whether it's, buyers so that they know what it is that they're purchasing, what type of easements might exist within a document, and also for sellers to make sure that maybe there aren't things that are recorded against their properties, whether they're attachments or liens or other encumbrances. So there are a lot of things that you can educate the public on, and that's one of the things that I'd be looking forward to doing is getting out there and giving people an education on how to use the registry as well as I have over the years.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cassella.
All right. So the Registry of Deeds is a library of real estate records. We do record all the documents that pertain to your property. And it is split into two different groups. We have the registered and we have recorded. Recorded land is more of an abstract type of office. They look for certain things, but it's just technically data inputting their the documents. But as far as registered land, we are literally going over that title. We have to pull out the certificate. We have to make sure the owners match, how the tenancy is, the plans. So there's a lot more to it. Is it held in trust? Is it reserving a life estate? And then if it is, was anyone deceased at the time of the sale? So there's a lot more to it in the registry when it comes to registered and recorded land. We do have like all the old documents. We have all the old books from back to 1629, I believe. So we still have all of that. And it should be open to the public. It's a public office. We should be able to have people come over into the registry and use our computers and get whatever they want, whether it was their grandmother's deed, their uncle's deed, whatever it is that they need. So the registry is the office that holds all real estate records, and we are the ones that approve all the documents. We make sure that they're certified through the Massachusetts general laws, land court guidelines, and the indexing standards. And being there 32 years, I know every single thing about that part of the registry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cassella. Mr. Chau.
Thank you. The other two candidates explained very well the definition of the registry, what they do. Basically, since 1640, the mission has not changed for the Registry of Deeds. They intake documents related to land ownership, reproduce that for the registry, index that to be recorded and searchable, and make it accessible to the public. So the mission of the registry has not changed, but the technology has changed. The Register of Deeds involves in much more than just clerical work. The register need to have vision, need to have management, need to have leadership. And your question is excellent. That's what leads to the experience of how outreach to the community. What else can the registry do to get more people involved? And not just the professional, not just the real estate professional, the bankers, the attorneys, but also for personal. There's a growing numbers of personal usage. People want to research genealogy and history. A lot of the history of the district and the Commonwealth and the country is buried deep in these documents that were recorded, different language and so forth. So outreach, education, and communication to the public is very, very important. My vision and my goal is to protect homeownership rights, also to expand homeownership pathways, and to build the American dreams. And to do that, you need education. You need to reach out to our nonprofit partners throughout the 10 communities. How can we provide more access to home ownership? The register does a lot more than just clerical work.
Okay, thank you. Next question. We're going to start with you, Ms. Cassella. And I know I said you're all going to get the same question, and you kind of are here, but there's a little twist on this based on what you've already said in your background. So a lot of the talk I see out there on social media, your supporters, people who are endorsing you, helping you, is about the experience. One of you, Ms. Cassella, you've said you've touted your 3 decades of experience actually working in the office. How does that experience make you more qualified to manage the office than your 2 opponents? And to you, Mr. Chau and Mr. Reddy, what in your background has you better prepared to actually manage an office like this?
So for me, I mean, as far as managing, I've been in that office for 32 years. I've been working with these women for that long, but we all work together. We all get along well. As far as managing, it's going to be just like it is today. You have your break, like they know how I am. We know each other, and I do think my management skills, I've raised my 4 children. I have rules. This is what's going to happen. And we're union employees. We go by a contract. I'm a contract negotiator. I know what the contract reads. So I have that ability too. I already am aware of what days they have off, how they can use their vacation time. I'm already a step above anybody else because I'm the one that has been working with that contract for 30 years. So I think management skills, I have them. I can, go through the contract with anybody if they wanted to, if they're not, going by the rule of the contract. So, and we don't have that issue there. We really don't. We have one little problem, and that will be dealt with, but there's nothing really that I don't think I would have to. They know their job. They know when a customer comes in, they have to wait on them. They can't just let them stand there. They know, and hopefully when we have more customers in there, they'll be waiting on them. We'll have more people working for us, and it's really going to be good. And honestly, as a manager, we should be rewarding workers. We should be talking to our workers, letting them know, you've done a fabulous job. We haven't heard those words in 30 years. So that is something I, as a manager, am going to make sure these girls are taken care of.
Thank you. Mr. Chau.
That is an excellent question. I am, like I mentioned before, I am uniquely qualified. I have private sector experience. I ran a mortgage company. We had 15 loan officers when my wife and I ran the mortgage company together. I went to work for real estate. I went to work for 2 law offices, one in downtown Lowell and one in Boston, both in supervisory capacity. And the past few years, as you know, I've been the mayor of the city of Lowell of 115,000 residents. And I have worked very closely with the city manager to review budget, to plan with the city, as well as along with my colleagues, my fellow councillors. Even as a councillor, you review the budget, you work through plans, what's best for the city, and so forth. The city of Lowell, we have a budget of over $500 million, and on the school side, $250 million. I was fortunate during my first year as a mayor. I negotiated a contract with the city manager. As well, when you're the mayor, you're also the chairman on the school committee. I was also negotiate contract on the side of the superintendent as well. I'm very familiar with management, both in the private sector and the public sector. Part of the key to being a manager is really to have the vision. What does an organization need in the next few years, next 5 years? Yeah, short term, medium term, and long term. Anything from a small business to medium-sized to the city this large. So I am uniquely qualified. Just one more thing. I know you look at me running out of time. When Maura Healey, when she was Assistant Attorney General, she worked in 2008. There was a foreclosure crisis, and she worked with Mr. Howe at that time to make the banks accountable and to protect the consumers. And when she ran for the Attorney General herself, Mr. Howe was one of the first public officials to endorse her because he felt that she knew what the registry, what the lead of the registry would need. And I feel it's going in circle. Currently, the governor of Massachusetts, Governor Healey, is endorsing me because she knows what kind of leader could lead the registry into the next generation.
Okay, thank you. And you were fine on time. I was just making sure that the microphones are still working.
I had to talk a little bit faster, so I apologize trying to fit in the time frame. So
no worries. I've been known to hit the wrong button. Mr. Reddy, what in your background allows you to better lead / manage that office?
Yeah, so having recorded documents of registries all throughout the state, and also having founded and built a real estate brokerage where we had almost 20 agents working for me at one time. The aspects of building that operation from the ground up require significant experience, not only from a management standpoint, but creating a vision, creating a marketing strategy, and all of the things that go along with that, creating training and all of the protocols that are in place. So internal controls are a big part of it. But more importantly, the leader of, especially this department needs to come in. They need to have a vision. They need to set forth a mission statement as to where they're going to be leading the registry moving forward. And then they have to have a game plan as to how they're going to implement that. And I think if people go to my website, votejoeready.com, they're going to see that I already have a vision plan in place, that I've already started to lay out different aspects of how we're going to improve the registry. I'm not going to wait till day one. I think one of the most beneficial parts of this election is the fact that whoever wins in this Democratic primary will ultimately be the presumptive Democratic nominee. And that person can then go off, because they don't have another party challenger, and start to really craft how this registry is going to start to look on day one when they take office in January. And that's something that I plan to do. I have a roadmap in place for how I plan to do it. And most importantly, I have a vision. So I'm looking forward to, taking that office and bringing it into the next future.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Reddy. Next question. I want to start with you, Mr. Chau. Thanks to the fame of Elvis Presley and his home Graceland, the theft of property deeds via fraud has garnered national attention. Now, I've done a little research, and it appears, according to Mr. Howe and other registrars here in the Commonwealth, that is not an issue in Massachusetts. To their testimony, their knowledge, there hasn't been one case. But still, people get concerned about it as they see it kind of happening nationally. What measures can be taken to prevent and detect fraud?
Thank you. That's a great question. And the number one goal of the Register of Deeds is to prevent frauds and to provide education to the consumers, to the homeowners directly, how they themselves can contribute to preventing frauds upon themselves. I just want to insert a little bit. Frauds does happen on properties in Massachusetts, but not to the extent as Graceland, of course. I would have to give a lot of credits to the legislators in our state for working vigilantly to make sure that we protect the consumers. Some of the things that we can do to educate outreach to the public is through education. One of them is to encourage the individuals to file a homestead declaration, and the other one on the website right now, you can sign up for a CNS, Consumer Notification System, where that if somebody were to record a document against your property with your name, you'll be notified. Those are the things, small things that you can do. But obviously, as I mentioned before, we need to upgrade the technology, the internet companies, those bad actors are spending hundreds of millions of dollars preying upon the most vulnerable population. If I'm lucky enough to get elected and we make sure the registry qualified for that funding to come in, we'll definitely make sure that protecting homeowner rights, the deeds will be our number one priority.
Thank you. Mr. Reddy.
What's the question again?
A lot of attention nationally about the theft of deeds. Doesn't appear to be a lot of reason to be concerned here in Massachusetts, but people do read these things and start to worry. What measures can be taken to both prevent and detect fraud?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. There's actually, I believe the town manager of Drake back in the 90s experienced some sort of fraud as a result. But ultimately, it's important that we install the consumer notification system, which I talked about on day one. Imitation is the best form of flattery. The reason we need to have a consumer notification and system is because the sooner you know about something being recorded against your property, the faster you can take action to try to mitigate any sort of damages that might have happened to you. So the current consumer notification system that's in place is not adequate enough right now to protect the general public. And we need to work with the registries across the state, the Secretary of State, to try to make sure that we can build a new robust consumer notification system that will adequately inform you when things happen on your property. Right now, you can assign it to yourself, but you can't assign it to an LLC or some other property type. So this is very important for the general public because those are the type of property owners that are generally marginalized by this type of fraudulent activity. With deep fakes and with all of the cybersecurity issues that are occurring, we really need to look at how we can prevent fraud. One other major thing we need to do is implement a way that the registry can take in information about properties that are suspected to have fraud against them. So as a real estate broker and somebody that has listed and sold property, I've had people come to me and try to list a property fraudulently. If you see that happen, there should be a way where you can notify the registry, they can note it. That way, if that property deed comes across their desk and they have great staff and they'll see it, then they can notify the real estate and conveyancing attorney that they should double check the notarized documents and triple verify that in fact that these are the correct notarizations that we need to record the documents. So there's so many great ideas, and honestly, I'm out to take in additional ideas from the public as well. They think there's ways that we can better protect ourselves.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cassella.
So as far as fraud, being there 32 years, there's been 2 cases in our registry. And I think we have to really talk to all the registrars. We have to come together because we're taking those documents in. So we want to prevent it right from that point. We don't want the document getting on record and then going to the consumer notification that, oh, the deed got on record. So for as a registrar, if elected, I would love to meet with everybody. They do have register meetings and talk about what we can do to prevent those documents from going on record. We're going to have, I believe, we should actually be asking and requiring a little bit more to just the recording than just a signed notarized deed. We might have to ask the attorney to provide some type of document certifying that this is the owner's, he's certifying that he's done this closing, blah, blah, blah. But something to that effect. So the one that we just saw recently in January, it was an old deed from 2014. We shouldn't have taken that deed. It was signed Panos Teddy. Would you accept a document that was signed incorrectly? No, you shouldn't, right? So those are things that the girls already know. They know what not to take. But again, in our office, and it comes up still about management, we don't have supervisors. Back years ago, we had a supervisor in every office, and those supervisors were the ones that made decisions and ran that office. Now, the Register of Deeds, he's the one. He makes the final decision. Does that document go on or doesn't? Is it not going to go on? So that's how it works now. So we have the register and the assistant making those decisions. So myself, I'm going to make sure that these documents don't get on record. I'm going to critique every part of it.
All right, thank you. I'm very disappointed I got caught. I almost got away with that. There's a little bit of a follow-up to that. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Reddy. Technology is great, and obviously cybersecurity is an area where you're going to have to be careful with fraud. But when it comes to protecting the elderly, they're not as keen on technology. They're also sometimes vulnerable to family members kind of taking advantage of them and preying on them when it comes to their property. Are there any specific measures that you will enact to help the elderly protect their properties and make sure, whether it's scammers from another country or a scammer within their own family, from taking advantage of them?
Yeah, so for starters, one of the things that we want to make sure is that customer service is not outsourced to AI. All right, we want to use AI as a way to index documents and create better workflows. But when you're talking about, we'll use the word elderly, but, it's really a matter of working with them hand in hand. And, to a certain degree, fraud can only be detected in certain ways, right? If someone is really out to get you, if they're a bad actor and they have intentions to fraud the system, it makes it very difficult. And that's why we have to use technology to try to, get ahead of that. That's why we want to build additional systems in place. And ultimately, some of it is going out to senior centers, having educational seminars about making sure they understand, different types of ownership, and, maybe having, my opponent actually brought up a wonderful idea of, attorney of the day, but, actually going out to these senior centers with attorneys that are willing to partner with us to talk about wills and trusts and how they should be formulating their property strategies moving forward. Because, you see it too many times in society where somebody waited too late to maybe put a property in trust, then they go into a nursing home, and unfortunately, the state will eventually take a lot of the funds as a result. So that would be my game plan.
Okay, Ms. Cassella.
All right, what was the question?
What is, obviously cybersecurity is a concern, but protecting the elderly from bad actors preying from them, whether it's outside or within their own families.
Right. So for that, again, Joe, since I ran back in 2018, I think I see the people come in. Lawyer of the Day program would be perfect for these people. They really need to know that, they have to change that deed. They can't, if they've inherited the property. Now, the two owners are their parents, right? You just have to, if you own it by will, you have to make sure you change that deed. You make everything current, make sure that that property is in the proper names. You want to protect it. You want to talk about estate planning. You want to make sure for the elderly that they're protected, that they know exactly what they can do. And there are so many options. If you talk to an attorney, there's reserving a life estate. So, but to talk to them, make sure they have the homestead. We all want those homesteads on. Make sure the homestead's acknowledged correctly. We just had one that was just thrown out. They had the homestead on. It went to court. They were being sued, not acknowledged properly. The judge threw it out. So they want to make sure that their property is in current names. They know everything about estate planning. They've talked to attorneys. And I know it's expensive, but we'll have that lawyer of the day. They can at least get some advice, make decisions, and then maybe even hire the person that they spoke with. But whatever we can do for the elderly to protect them, I would definitely be on board. Maybe we can work with other agencies to help them, teach them how to use that notification program. But bottom line is, when some documents come in, it's really up to us as the employees there to make sure that those documents don't go on record if we feel that they are fraudulent.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chau.
Great, thank you. Technologies are great. You can enhance security, enhance customer service, and so forth, but it could never take the place of serving a certain segment of population. And I can tell you, Teddy, not only the elderly that don't like to use a computer, many other segments of the population may not feel comfortable use technology either. The other two candidates mentioned the ideas of outreach. That's what I would be focused on: senior center, town halls, outreach education. Those are good ideas. I would also add a neighborhood hotline, a registry hotline. If anyone has questions about anything at all, from the simplest thing of they receive a document in the mail asking them to send them a check in the amount of $59 or $100, and they would get like a copy of their deeds. And as we all know, those are free from a registry. They could any questions that related to their title, to the deeds, issues at all. They can call the office, and it'll be a live person to answer the questions. If they're not able to answer the questions that is appropriate, the duties that for the clerks there, they'll be advised to seek the counsel of an attorneys and so forth. So I think, like a lot of people, we don't like to call customer service anymore, because a lot of times at the end of the call, at the end of the line, is a computer, an automated operator that you have to click 3-4 times before you get to a live person. But I will make sure that if we create like a hotline, the individual can call, asking a question, or to be a live person answering your questions.
Okay, thank you. Final question, and we'll start with you, Ms. Cassella. How do you see the job and the office evolving under your watch?
So as the Register of Deeds, I am going to start, well, first of all, we're going to have to hire employees. We're going to turn those computers on. We're going to open up to the public. That's what I feel like that job is about, serving the public, making sure they feel safe with their property deeds, making sure that they know when they come in, they're going to be respected. That office runs well. Our computer system runs really well. The internet's another story. That will be upgraded to help people. But I want to do all these outreach programs. I've already talked about going to senior centers, talking to the elderlies, doing homestead seminars, lawyer of the day program. There's so much I want to bring to that office. I'm in there and I watch people come in and they're frustrated sometimes. I'd like to go out to the towns, show them we have a Simplifile software program. You can get that. You don't have to have these homeowners coming into our office and then you didn't put the right information on. So even educating the towns is something I will be doing if elected. But the office itself, it's a great office to work in, and it runs really efficiently right now. Girls are right there. They're doing their work, and I'm proud to be part of that office. And I think my goal will be to make it more of a public service job, make sure that we're open to the public, that they know they can call us and we'll answer their questions or at least lead them to the right direction.
All right. Mr. Chau, how will the office evolve under your leadership?
Thanks so much for that question. Mr. Howe has done a fantastic job leading the registry. I spoke with him to give him the respect before I decided to run, and we spoke a little bit about the challenges for the future of the registry. As you know, the registry has been level funded at $1.2 to about $1.3 million for the past 20 years. And it's been great under Mr. Howe's leadership. It's functioning, it does all the customer service, all the technology. But in terms of going forward for the next 10 years, 20 years, $1.2, $1.3 million, it's not sustainable. You have to remember, in the past 20 years, there have been ups and downs in the economic cycles. The economy now is much more unpredictable. The needs of the customer service, the demand of the professional are so much more. I know that the three of us, we have some great ideas, and our ideas going to overlap. It's only one registry, right? And it's only one way to do the job well. And all of us, we know our job, we know we're going to do well. But I'm the only one up here that can bring in the new revenue stream. $1.2, $1.3 million, that's not sustainable for the next 20 years. We're talking about technology, we talk about outreach, all these things need funding. Every ideas need funding to make it work. I will bring in the new revenue to the registry.
So wait a minute. So how are you the only one that can bring in revenue for the registry?
Great question, Karen. I've been waiting for that question actually because
no one else can.
Experience matters. I've dedicated the past all my professional career and the past few years in public service, working with elected officials at all levels of government.
But I'm wondering how you are the only one that can bring the money in.
It takes experience. It takes trust by other elected leaders and elected officials. I know I've been in the private sector. I'm in the government. I know how government work. I know how to.
Well, the registries all work together. If you look at their budgets, they're all pretty much similar. There's some that have the
salary's the majority of the funding to the registry, which the Secretary of State can increase.
They can increase, right, and they can increase our budget if we just
ask. And for technology, you just
because
have to put together a vision and a plan.
Just because something that has always been, it does not mean that it has to be the same thing going forward. The mayor of Lowell has always been ceremonial. When I became the mayor of Lowell, I didn't want to be like that. I pretty much put full time into it. I worked with every elected official. I advocated with all the from the state all the way to the federal for more funding to come to the city.
All I wanted to ask was how would you get more funding than any one of us? That's all.
I will leverage. Right. Well,
I know you know politicians. We know that, but I'm just asking how you would get more fun. Like how? Why couldn't I? Why can't I ask Secretary of State Galvin for the money?
There's trust involved. There's relationships involved, and I work with these elected officials already.
I get it. It's all politics.
The only problem is when you look through when you read through the lines, it's because I know somebody, I get a handout or a hand up.
It's not right.
The way that things should be done is through a proper channel to go through the same protocols that every other person has to go through. Like I got a ticket for parking the other day. I had paid through the app. I just went online to the city of Lowell. I paid it. I went on. I did the appeal. I put in the little photo showing that I paid it, and they said, you know what? Accept it, right? Like normal people just go through a normal protocol of getting funding, right? It's not, political appointments that just get handed out. This is people's lives. If the governor's only going to give money to Sokhary Chau, is she saying that she doesn't care about the residents of the city of Lowell?
Right,
that if one of us gets elected, that she's going to somehow block funding? Like this is like Chris Christie on the bridge issue. I mean, honestly, this is not good for the city to have that kind of patronage handout. I would want somebody that has a vision plan that's going to bring something forward that says this is how we're going to implement technology, or this is how we're going to implement new staffing, and this is why we should bring in new money.
All right, I just want to give Mr. Chau a couple of seconds to respond to that, and then I want to give you an opportunity to talk about how the office will evolve under you.
Sure, thank you. I thought we'd go in order, but nobody's giving a handout to anybody. All I'm saying, I will leverage my experience, my background. Having worked in the public sector for the past few years, I know how government works. I understand what it takes to make the registry shovel ready, so that way we could be qualified and eligible for that $1.2 billion to come in. I am ready. I'm already having the relationship. And it's not going behind like the other candidates saying that special treatment and so forth. It's just that people that I know that how government work, what process it takes to do grant writing, to work through the policies at the government level, at the legislative level. I will leverage all this experience and background to make sure that we qualify for those money.
Okay, I appreciate that. I do want to move on. But just kind of to summarize, the two of you, so Mr. Reddy, Ms. Cassella, you think you can bring in the same funds as Mr. Chau. Mr. Chau, you believe
absolutely
your connections will allow you to increase that budget specifically to that registry.
I will leverage my background, my experience to make it happen.
Okay. Mr. Reddy, how do you see the office and the job evolving under your leadership?
So under my leadership, you're going to get fair and equitable treatment of employees. You're going to have somebody that comes in with managerial experience, having managed union staff. I can read through the union contract, understand exactly what it is that the union has negotiated. I have the ability to see what we need for technology needs. I can put together RFPs and all of the vision plans needed. I can go and put together the proper funding proposals and go to the state. I have on my website testimonials from State Senator Barry Feingold, where he specifically says Joe has the experience to come to the state legislature and bring more money to the registry if it was needed. But he would first use a prudent process of looking at how he could do regionalization across all registries. Okay, so what's important here is under my leadership, you're going to see a fair and equitable registry that doesn't have patronage hires. It has a fair process of hiring people that are qualified for the position. We're going to work towards helping train everyone within the office so that they're up to speed on how to record land, whether it's registered land or recorded land. We're going to have one of the most extensive outreach offices that there is, so that people like you had mentioned, the elderly or people that are second language speakers, they have the opportunity to use those services just as much as someone like myself who's very technologically savvy. So I'm been thinking about this job for the past 20 years and how it can be improved. And I think that there's ways that this could really be a well-run office. Having run Harvard Law School's Career Services Office, having worked side by side with attorneys, the Registry of Deeds is mostly used by the legal profession. And really, the register should not be really giving legal services advice. It's a recordation process, maintaining it and providing public access. It's making sure that those processes are in place and working efficiently for professionals, land surveyors, and the people that use that office on a daily basis. So.
All right. Thank you. We've gotten to about 45 minutes of discussion, so time now for our closing statements. Mr. Reddy, you get to go first.
I'm Joe Reddy. I'm running for Register of Deeds. I've wanted to be the Register of Deeds since I was about 16 years old, when I worked for attorneys in the area recording deeds and mortgages. I wasn't qualified at that time, but since then, as I had mentioned, I went off. I worked at Suffolk Law School in their registrar's office. I provided customer service. I worked in their Suffolk Law School admissions office, providing technology implementation. The same time Richard Howe was implementing online paper books to online records, I was taking paper applications to online applications. I went and worked at Harvard Law School. I managed union staff there, ran one of the world's largest interview programs in the world while putting together programs for students. I then went off and went to do my passion in real estate. I founded Ready Real Estate, where I led, founded, and built a successful brokerage, which I've led for the past 13 years. I sold that brokerage to Shannon Anderson of Century 21, who is also someone that has endorsed me in this campaign. And ultimately, I made this run because this is something that I've been passionate about doing since I was a young man. So I'm hoping people will see my 15 plus years of management experience as something that is valuable to moving this office forward, that I've laid out a visions plan on my website, votejoereddy.com. And most important, I want you to take the time to look at testimonials from people that have worked for me, worked with me, and that I've worked for, that have all said that I should be the next Register of Deeds. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Reddy. Ms. Cassella, your closing statement.
I'm Karen Cassella, running for Register of Deeds. Thank you for all for watching this. I am truly committed to being the Register of Deeds. I promise that I will be opening this office up for the public. It's going to be run with integrity, transparency, and accuracy. This office will definitely be something that I take care of, make sure that everyone's on board, they're doing their jobs. I'm going to manage perfectly and respectfully because, you know, everyone needs that. I've been in that office for 32 years. I have watched what went on, and I think it is time for change. It's time to elect your first woman Register of Deeds, and I'm asking you to vote for me September 3rd. Karen Cassella, Register of Deeds.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cassella. Mr. Chau.
Thank you, Teddy, for providing this forum for us to lay out our visions and our goals and our experience. I want to thank everyone who's watching also. My name is Sokhary Chau. I'm a husband, a father of 2 young adults, a former mayor of Lowell, and a current city councilor. I have ran a mortgage company with 15 loan officers, work in real estate, work with attorney law officers. I understand how important it is to have accuracy of documentation. The past few years, I've been very fortunate to be able to serve the public. With my combined experience of private sector and public sector experience, I am uniquely qualified to lead the Registry of Deeds for the next generation. One thing that I want to mention that we didn't talk about during the debate is that the Registry is one of the agencies that is working in collaboration with municipalities, with the CPA and the CPA fund. We collect CPA fee and then work with the state. If I'm lucky enough to be elected, I will work very closely with all municipal leaders, provide them records and reports to provide transparency so they can use the numbers, use that information to leverage for more funding from the state. And in some cases, they can use that fundings if they have bigger projects in their communities. CPAs basically, they deal with affordable housing, open green space, and historic preservation. Those are the integrities and the characters of each community. The 10 communities, each very, very unique. Each have their own sets of personalities. I think the CPA is great for them. I've been endorsed by the top 4 women in the state, the top 4 women leadership in the state. And I also have been endorsed by a leader in each of the 10 community because they know and the public know that I like to work with people, collaborative with partnership. And in addition to lead the registry and managing the registry, I will make sure that the registry will have the most modern technology going to the forward. Together with your support, we'll revolutionize the registry for the next generation. Again, my name is Sokhary Chau. I humbly ask for your vote on September 3rd. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chau, and thank all of you for coming on in this morning. I hope folks have a better understanding of where you sit, and best of luck to you on September 3rd.
Thank you.
All right. Thank all of you as well for tuning in whenever you watch it. As we like to say, Inside Lowell news and information on your schedule, not ours. As was mentioned during this candidates debate, one of these 3 will be your next Register of Deeds. You'll have a new one for the first time since 1995. So we hope this helped you make up your mind. And most importantly, we hope that you do your civic duty and you head on out there and vote, whether it's by mail, though you want to hurry up if you're going to do that. You still have time to do some early voting in your communities through Friday. And of course, on election day, primary election day, Tuesday, September 3rd. So next time, everybody, stay safe.
Thank you.